to Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallett, who thinks I'm going to run out of stuff to say about him, but never.
I think you will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Every day is like a little gift with you.
I give you a new one. Huh?
Every day.
And Michelle Lewis, who's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary and can curse like a drunken sailor.
That's right. I make mamas blush.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
You know what? They say
Mom.
They say that people that curse a lot have a higher intelligence.
What the F does that mean?
I don't know what the F that means. You're grounded again.
Yeah. We're not a real estate show.
No, we're not. Oh, because how boring would that be?
Yeah, for sure. But it is. A lot of people are talking about real estate right now, right?
Oh.
Wondering what's going on and
all the time. What's the question du jour that you get all the time? Like, how's the market doing?
Oh yeah, how's the market?
Yeah,
what's happening in the real estate market? There's a couple things going on that I wanted to talk about. And there's so much news out there and a lot of it's conflicting, which is really confusing and frustrating. But I want to talk about some of the things that are holding people back because it's more of a mindset thing. Some of the things that are going on, like, well, interest rates are crazy high. Well, no, they're not.
Holding people back from buying selling?
Both, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are going, well, if I sell my house, I've got a 3.5% mortgage and then I'll have to have a 5 3/8 mortgage it's probably closer to 6 now, but so I don't want to buy anything. That's crazy. And so really the interest rates are still at historic lows.
I was reading something that you wrote, something like at 18%. At one point
in 1981, they were over 18%. Wow. And houses still sold. People were still buying houses.
That's insane.
So actually they stayed above the rate that they are now all the way from 1981 all the way to 2005. They slowly came down, but 2005 they went under 6% for the first time.
How much was your first house that you owned?
8.9%, and it was $189,000. And I thought I was getting a smoking deal at 8.9%.
I think we paid something like $76,000 in 1995. And honestly, I don't know what our interest rate was, but if it was around there, it's probably 8-9%.
When you first bought your house, you didn't care what the interest rate was. You were only worried about the payment.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the payment going to be? Can I afford the payment?
We were poor.
Payment.
We were poor.
Yeah. Yeah. But so it has gotten a lot more expensive to buy a house in the past 2.5 years since COVID kicked off. And are actually estimated at 55% increase in what it costs to buy a house, which is the rise in property values, the rise in property taxes, and now mortgage rates. So it has gotten more expensive. But what's the alternative? Renting?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I have 3 kids. You have
everybody
children.
should start there, but you shouldn't be, if you're on your career path and you're making good money, you shouldn't choose to live in an apartment when you could afford a house. You're giving up so many advantages.
You're paying for somebody else's mortgage.
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, the landlords, you're basically paying the landlord's mortgage, which is great for when you're a landlord like I am. But so people shouldn't choose to rent because there's, most people know this, but when you sell your primary residence, if you've lived there in 2 of 5 years, if you're single, you get a $250,000 exemption. And if you're married, you get a $500,000 exemption. You don't pay any capital gains on $500,000 of gain.
So, but you and I've talked about that before, and that is still very confusing to me, and I need to talk to my accountant about it. And everybody needs to talk to their accountant about that. But if I also put improvements, put a pool, did this, did that, that can raise that exemption. That
increases the basis.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's the gain. So the gain is if you paid $200,000 for it and then you put $100,000 of actual improvements, like painting is not an improvement, but if you add a pool, that's an improvement.
Okay.
Yes, please talk to your accountant.
If I buried somebody in the backyard, does that add?
That's a gray area.
I didn't bury anybody in the backyard.
Probably depends on who you buried.
Okay. I have a
if you
pet
buried
cemetery.
somebody very famous, that might actually increase the
If
basis.
I sell Jesus and toast, can I sell it?
Yeah. But so, that tax advantage, you get the yearly tax advantage for your mortgage interest. You can, you pay down your mortgage every time you make a payment. So you're not only if it goes up in value, your equity increases because of the increase in value, but every month, even if it's $200, that's like you put $200 in your pocket because the amount that goes to the principal. So people shouldn't be choosing to rent. I still think it's a great time to buy. Didn't you say Dave Ramsey came out last week and said,
yeah, he said now is the time to buy, because if you're not buying, again, like he said, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, but the home prices are only going to go up. If you're waiting for interest rates to go down over the next 5 years, interest rates may go down. You can always refinance, but home prices are, they're not going to go up as much as they did, but they will continue to go up in value.
That's one of the things that has stayed pretty consistent across the stories that I've read. Is most people are saying home prices are not going to go down. This is not a bubble. This is not like 2007 where we had a bunch of people that probably should have continued to be renters just because they borrowed like as much as they could. And then as soon as the market turned down a little bit, they were like, well, I only got $1,000 in equity, or I have negative equity in my house. I owe more on it than it's worth. I'll just walk away from it. That's what
was happening a lot. Yeah. That was happening a lot.
We're not having that, right? These, there's still people out there that will buy these houses, and people say, well, what about all the price reductions? Well, that's not really a reflection of the market value. So if I listed my house, which is worth $800,000, I'm just making it up, but $800,000, and I list it for $1 million, and I have to drop it to $850 to get a contract on it, that's not a reflection of market values. That's a reflection of people pricing it because there was 25 buyers for every house during COVID, and COVID's not really affecting the market anymore.
That's very interesting because, we were seeing that last year that people were either pricing it really high or really low to get more offers. But I mean, as a managing the chaos expert that you are, why would you want to have to manage 25 offers? Why don't you price it appropriately, right? And get the 5 to 6 offers, and you can weigh the cash, the VA, the conventional loans against each other. And if you're just like pricing it so low because you do want to get just as many offers as you can, it's crazy.
I think that was a mistake, but I think an even bigger mistake was pricing it too high, where you thought, well, I only want a couple offers. Well, you might not get any offers.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And in the market that we had from 2021, if your house was on the market for a week, people were like, oh, there's a dead body buried in the backyard. There's something wrong there.
Was it a famous dead body? Oh, exactly right.
You had to get the most money. You had to sell that house in less than 5 days.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So there, it's not a bubble. There's the other thing to remember is we have a client and they're moving out of state, and they said, well, we need to get a certain amount of money for our house, which is never a way you price a house. But I get where they're coming from. And I said, well, where you're moving, are prices still staying very high? And they said, no, it's going down. Well, the market moves in tandem. So yes, your house is now worth $1 million. Well, the house you want to buy that was 800 is now 700. So yeah, I mean, it's not exact proportions, but the benefit you have where you lose on one, you get a benefit on the other. And the other thing is you're not going into a market where there's 40 other buyers making offers on the house that you want to buy. Right now, it's a great time to be a buyer. You can go in, you might even be able to negotiate a little bit where, geez, we were like throwing everything in the kitchen
the appraisal
sink.
waiver.
Oh my gosh, we were doing stuff was crazy.
Firstborn child. Yeah, if they're ugly, no, you have to keep them.
Yeah, I'll give you a Ferrari. You know? Let me buy your house. I'll give you a Ferrari. Yeah, it's a crazy time. So, I would caution people on saying things like the mortgage crisis and real estate prices are going to plummet and this is a bubble. I don't think we're seeing any indications of that. I think this is actually going to stay. Actually, it's transitioning to a more normal market. So it's so funny how people are so short-sighted, right?
Oh, true.
Our memories are so short. Before 2.5 years ago, before April of 2020, it used to take 60 to 90 days to sell your house. And in Dripping Springs, the average was 95 to 97% of the list price. And remember, we used to brag about, our listing to sales price ratio is 98.6%. You know, now agents are saying, my average price to sales ratio was 126%. Well, that's not happening, right? So,
well, I think also what this market's going to do for us personally is we're going to start seeing a lot less agents that were getting into this gig part-time.
People are getting out of the business big time.
And I've said this time and time again, but there is something to be said about having a brick and mortar to go to. This is a real job for us. Theoretically, me,
yeah.
I pretty much.
Yeah. It's true though. The professionals are here year in, year out. I mean, 2007, more than half the real estate agents got out of the business. Way more than half, almost 60%.
They're all buried in my backyard.
They are. That's right. That's right. But, the rest of us stuck it out, and it was a little bit rough 2007, 2008, but 2009 and 10, you didn't work for me then, but it started picking up, and it actually got pretty good.
I've always worked for you, Steve.
Yeah, forever and ever.
You're never getting rid of me, ever.
Yeah. So the other thing to remember is if you're renting, rents are going up too.
Yes. Oh, goodness. A friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, sold her house, only needed a place to rent for 3 months. The apartment she's trying to rent, $3,600 a month.
Insane, isn't it?
I call them the divorce apartments over by Belterra.
Is that really in there? It's $3,600 a month?
It's the bougie divorce apartments.
Oh, the bougie ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
$3,600 for an apartment.
I'm sure she would have nothing less than the bougie ones.
Yes, that's true.
I ran yesterday downtown.
You run? I didn't know that.
Did you know I run?
Didn't know that. You didn't mention it in the last 5 minutes.
I ran a little bit. And we started from Barton Springs. And this time of year, when you run and it's 80 degrees and you're dying when you get done, jumping in Barton Springs is awesome. That's an aside. But as I was pulling out of the Barton Springs parking lot, I saw this Tesla sitting there. And the license plate said, the letters were ERTH space SVR.
Earth Saver.
Earth Saver. And so I started.
Roll eyes.
Yeah. I started thinking about that, how proud this person is, he or she, of saving the world with their Tesla, their $100,000 Tesla. And it reminded me of a couple things. But did you see that story on Instagram? It was like Massachusetts, I think. It might have been Pennsylvania. But it was a city, and they had just installed 4 or 5 of those charging stations. And there was the mayor and a city council person, and they were like patting each other on the back, and they were so excited.
I
did. News media was there.
I did. And she went over and they went and asked her how it worked.
Yeah. And she goes, well, you plug the cars in and electricity fills the cars and there's no emissions.
Magic.
Yeah. It's like magic. And the guy and the reporter says, well, where's the electricity come? And she pointed to the building. She says, it comes from the building here. And he said, well,
where does that come from?
It's not made in the building. Yeah. Where does it come from? She said, oh, I guess it comes from that coal-fired plant that's down the road.
Natural gas?
Yeah,
huh.
Yeah. So it's like all you're doing is shifting emissions. And so this person I hate to make fun of it, but I hate these people that do these things so that they think other people will think more highly of them.
Yeah.
But they're not really doing anything. All you're doing is shifting the emissions from one to the other.
It's the moral grandstanding. It's look how wonderful I am. And it's basically the whole topic of virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling.
And one of the other examples that I know, it's like, wearing a shirt that says, I donated to XYZ, and it just shows how charitable you are. Or how about like a company changing either their logo or even their terms of service to kind of bow down to a particular public controversy that's going on? Or
well, you're seeing that a lot on the TV right now.
How about the flying the flag du jour, like whatever?
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
Like, okay, this week it's Ukraine, and next week it's whatever the next
month.
thing.
Yeah, it's pancake month.
Yeah.
Even like COVID protocols, dare I say? That was kind of a little virtue signaling to me.
Actually, that's true. It's. I hate to say it, because it's not silly if you're really scared of it. Please continue to wear a mask if you're really scared of it. But I know there are people out there that they know the masks don't work, and they know that there's no reason for them to be wearing them, and they're wearing them because it shows people that they believe a certain way, and they're backing whatever news media story is out there about what they should be doing about the mask.
You're exactly right. And one of the other things I thought was funny when I was reading about virtue signaling is a lot of people think that veganism is virtue signaling. No way. Because how many times have you met a vegan and they, that they're vegan? That's the first thing you know about them, that they're vegan.
I know a couple that are not like that. My friend Daniel's not like that. But
no, Daniel is not like that.
There are some.
No, Daniel is not like that at all. But
and I'll defend Holly.
Well,
Holly's a vegetarian.
Holly's a vegetarian,
but her whole reason for not eating meat is that she loves animals and she literally can't stomach the idea of eating, a furry little animal.
I love animals too. People eating tasty animals. But I was reading and it really hit me. I think that virtue signaling is considered somewhat of a narcissistic character trait.
I agree.
And so because you're broadcasting basically your own moral high character, and basically you're looking at the little people, those that are that are morally deficient than you.
You're not saving the earth.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm all for equality and inclusion and diversity.
Everybody matters.
But why do I have to care about every cause? The cause du jour. And if I don't, I am instantly labeled a racist, a homophobe, a misogynist, even though
Which is funny. Yeah.
I'm a woman.
A woman named,
I'm an actual woman because I can be considered sexist. Yeah. But I was born and bred a woman. But, it's just kind of like fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the brands that kind of bow down to that, like Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's, Eskimo pies. I thought that was so stupid. Yeah, they had to change it. Land O'Lakes butter, the Washington Redskins. What are they called now, the Washington Redskins? The Washington football team or something stupid?
This is a little bit of an old story now. It's been a week or so ago, but SpaceX, which
Elon
Musk owns, a group of employees from SpaceX wrote a letter to the CEOs of SpaceX and said, some of the things that Elon Musk is saying don't reflect very highly on SpaceX, and we think that his beliefs don't align with our beliefs, and that SpaceX should distance themselves from Elon Musk because it's not helping their cause. Guess what happened?
Bye-bye.
They got fired, and they should have been fired.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, but the only reason I tell that story is because up until now, these companies would have these employees do that, and they would go, "Oh gosh, you're right. Oh, we're so sorry. Oh, we're so sorry. We're going to start this group now, and we're hire new people to come in and train you all to be sensitive and wear the right clothing and say.
And then
we'll
change our logo to reflect that, and we'll let everybody know that.
Yeah, it's like where did we become a country where you could say things like that about the people that pay you money, that put money in your account every month, and just expect that nothing's going to happen?
Yeah, I know. It's a strange little world that we are living in now.
It's true.
I feel like, are there bad things in the world that happen? Bad people? Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
But you know what? The good, and man, I mean like the good stuff is so much better. And I just think that as a society, as humans, stop labeling, stop connecting with news and social media, and connect with your people, like your neighbors, your family, your friends. And you know what? I think your soul's going to thank you later for it.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's just it's just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Eye roll button.
Yeah. And the guy with the Tesla with the Earth Saver license plate, just go buy a bicycle.
That's right.
If you really want to save the earth, go buy a bicycle.
Yeah, use your feet. Yeah, use your feet.
Yeah.
Speaking of virtue signaling, my favorite person besides you.
I am so excited
to pick on. Oh, I have top three. It's Scotty Bennett. It's Steve Mallett and Stephen Headley. Like y'all are my most favorite people that I
feel honored.
You're welcome. And Scotty is a good guy. Our listeners hear him every time that they listen to our podcast.
Yeah,
he does our voiceover.
He does a voiceover for the commercial. Yeah.
And Scotty taught me a lot about this business. I'm one of my best friends, love him to death. And he has a really interesting story. He grew up here in the Hill Country.
Yeah.
And he has a lot to tell us, I'm sure. And, I'm just going to apologize now.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Mom, we're sorry. Steve has been grounded from TV for a week, and he's doing all of the chores.
We might have to put the expletive mark on the podcast.
Frickle.
On Apple Podcasts,
sorry, Frickle.
Yeah. But we're going to take a little break and get Scotty in here, and we're both really excited to have him on. So sit tight, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com. God, woman.
So joining us this morning, we have KOKE FM personality, Texas red dirt country music legend in his own mind.
Yes.
And you also were nominated for the Texas Regional Radio Report Personality of the Year last year, Scotty Bennett. Welcome, Scotty.
Luckily, they let you nominate yourself. And
I think, you paid me $5? I had to vote for you.
You and all your friends in Dripping actually voted for me.
Could you see who voted?
No. I couldn't see.
So I created all those fake accounts for nothing. Then thanks a lot.
But thank you, Michelle. And that all to get me on the show.
You know what? I do what I have to do.
Whatever it takes.
I like your pink ball there. Your air.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
I was going to record it, but that's okay.
You like my pink ball?
I like you. The pop filter.
Welcome to the show, Scotty. Just dive right in.
Steve's not going to get a word in edgewise.
And we're done.
At all. Well, I've known Scotty. Scotty, how long have I known you?
Man. It's been, 15?
15 years.
Because Kendall was 6, I think, when I was most gracefully face planted in your kitchen.
Yeah.
So how old is she now?
She's 22.
So that's how long I've known you. I knew you about a year before that.
Yeah, and he fell in the kitchen, and Kendall was like, "Who's this idiot?
Who's this crazy guy on my floor?" Hi.
Did you guys meet each other because of the radio business?
Yes.
It was kind of a funny story because it actually wasn't because of the radio business initially. A guy that was working for me knew you from Clear Channel, and
which is in the radio business,
the Chick-fil-A thing. But no, but this is my ad agency that the way we met.
Oh yeah.
And then KOKE FM went on the air actually 10 years ago tomorrow, which is our big anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, if you haven't seen the news, we're having a big party at Broken Spoke. And it's 10 years since we put that on the air.
We had some good times at KOKE FM. We got
had some giggle times. We couldn't really get anything done, you and I, because we were laughing at everybody else. But
that sounds like our office now.
Yeah, we should have started a podcast back then. And
Scotty and I would go on adventures, and we'd go to lunch, and they're like, "Where's Scotty and Michelle?" Lunch.
And we'd be sitting at a meeting, and she'd start texting me, and we'd just start laughing because there's a private joke that.
She does that to me, Scotty. We'll be at some meeting somewhere. My phone just keeps going ding, ding, ding. And I know who it is. Yes. It's Michelle.
If she's trying to tell you something funny, you should read it.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty funny, at least to give her the credit.
I have a sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy. I can't help it. I'm very sorry. But then also.
Where'd you learn your mic technique, by the way? Because, you got you hold it very.
I don't know why she does it like that.
Because I do what I want, Scotty. That's why.
Okay.
You leave. This is my personal bubble right here.
Well, your personal bubble's got a mic between it.
There's your bubble. So he was also very long time DJ at Dallas Niteclub too.
Yes, that's the last place you actually got roofied.
That's right.
Jeez.
A true story. Yeah, true
What's
story.
the Dallas Niteclub?
It's where half of Dripping Springs met their other half, probably.
Man,
yeah.
I started in 91 and was there 25 years till they closed, and they had been open 11 years before I got there. So they were open like 36 years or so.
Wow.
On Barnett Road. It's now been completely scraped, but it was the best nightclub in the world
I mean, literally for a long time. And then all these other places started popping up. But it was a true nightclub. Like, it was more than Gillies. It was just DJ'd music. Occasionally we bring in bands, but not very often. And so I DJ every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And the place held 1,000 people, and we put 1,200 people in it 3 nights a week. And it was just crazy.
You know why I started going there? Because Todd and I, when we first moved here, were very poor. Mm-hmm. And I think on Friday nights they had free fajita buffets.
Yeah, that's it.
And so we'd start going there and we'd eat. And then we'd
I probably met you a long time ago.
Yeah, you didn't even know.
Yeah. I mean, I met my wife Kelly there and met a bunch of other wives there. It was just
Pickett met his wife there.
Pickett met his wife because Bob Pickett and I used to do remotes. We like Monday Night Football. Bam and I did Monday Night Football together for a while. And it's actually what led me into my ad agency, and then that led me into voiceover work, and that led me into the radio station. So it's crazy how it started at Dallas Niteclub, which is, who would have known that it started there? You normally go to college for this kind of stuff, and you go work in a bar.
I think I have to explain to you the roofie comment too.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it was Halloween, and Scotty and I had done some voiceover work, and actually I was most famous for my sugars.
Yeah.
And it was like
Sugars. Not
that she danced there. It's that she was doing the commercial.
That's a gentleman's club.
She was on the main stage.
I was only trying to work my way through college. I said I was poor.
With or without the pole.
Yeah.
No, I did the voiceover. They were reopening, and Scotty did a recording.
For my ad agency.
Yeah, and so Scotty, we were behind the mic, and he's like, "Hey, you should use your Sugars voice." And I was like, "Wine and dine and 69."
Yes.
And then next thing I know, there were these drinks that were being brought to me, and like an idiot. And it was right when the Deep Eddy iced tea vodka came out, and they were like, "Here, Michelle, I bought you a drink." And Todd is next to me, Scotty's next to me, Pickett, my brother was there, and I took the drink, and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't taste good.
It feels funny."
Yeah, it feels weird. Next thing you know, I'm passed
No way.
out.
Yes.
My brother had to carry me to my car, and I was
Jeez,
passed
good
out.
thing you weren't there by yourself.
Yeah,
You want to buy some pictures?
Yeah. I bet you do.
But she keeps giving me. I almost said a bad word, but she always says that's where Scotty roofied me,
Yeah,
and I was like, I had nothing to do with it. I was just in the
I
vicinity.
was just a spectator taking pictures.
If I'm going to roofie somebody.
It's not gonna be. And Scotty and I have been with his wife Kelly. We've been on many vacations
I
together.
know you have. I've seen
We
pictures.
went to DC last. We went to Vegas a couple times. Where else have we been?
We went on the suicidal booze
Oh
cruise.
yes, the cruise to nowhere.
Yeah,
down the Caribbean.
We were like literally 2-3 hours in. We're at dinner, and the ship starts turning around, and all these alarms start going off because somebody jumped off the ship.
No.
Yeah, and maritime law says that if you're on the ship that somebody jumped off, you have to go assist with the crew, with the help, even though there's all these, Coast Guard ships and helicopters, and we're right in the middle on our balcony going, "Hey, I don't see anybody." So, but the guy,
Did they find him?
Nope.
No, I don't think they ever did. But yeah, that was interesting. That was an interesting week.
There's always an adventure with
It
Scotty.
sounds like it.
Oh man, every time it's an adventure.
The Dallas Niteclub, was it a dance?
It
place?
was a nightclub. It was
He's
not
like,
a dance hall.
What is dance?
Yeah.
What is this dancing?
Well, you know me. I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink at all, so I don't do bars. And so I was trying to think, what? Yeah, it's true. Scotty, you got me figured out. But what do you do? So people just go in there. Are they mingling? Are they dancing? What are they doing?
We used to call it a meat market. It's a meat market.
Okay.
And it was an MEAT market or MEET market. So you meet people and you dance. And look, a lot of folks would go just to dance, but they had a giant long dance floor, and it's like a racetrack. You danced, and people would go in there and have to bring multiple sets of clothes because they'd sweat so much.
There was that guy that I know which guy you're talking about. Kevin Hines.
Well, Kevin Hines. His kids go to school with my kids.
Yeah, I went to high school with Kevin, so yeah.
Really? Well, we need to give a shout out to him because he's got a daughter that's good friends with Jack, and then I think he's got an older kid that was good friends with Courtney. And it's kind of funny because they're all at the same
Those are
school in
his
Round Rock.
kids. He has 3 kids.
Jack, Brooke, and Courtney. And that was on the questionnaire, right?
Well, that was. Are you sure that's all the kids you have?
That I know of.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
But they weren't conceived at the Dallas Niteclub.
Well,
You never know. Kelly, is that true?
No, but there were some that were. But anyway, not mine. But every time I say Dallas Nightclub, if you're not familiar with Austin from the history, then they're like, oh, I used to go to Dallas all the time. Not the city. This is the Dallas Nightclub on Bennett Road.
It's only if you'd sit on the toilet seat in the women's restroom where you're impregnated.
There's a set of couches in the back that...
Yeah, no black lights allowed.
Petri dish.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're on the air.
But yes, we're on the air, Scotty. But that place is gone, huh? It closed down.
It's gone, and it became another bar called the Local Pub. And then just recently, the whole shopping center was scraped so they could put on some smart growth townhouses, whatever. So it gone.
Condo
and that was another
living.
bit of history gone.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of that in Austin, aren't we?
We are. And that's a huge deal because I used to live in Austin and spend time in Austin. And
You went to UT.
I went to the University of Texas, and Austin is just not the same anymore without some of these. I mean, you start way back with the Armadillo's gone. Then you start, luckily the Broken Spoke's still around.
Hey,
but
Matt's is still there.
Matt's is still there, my favorite Mexican food restaurant in the city of Austin.
Yes. But Broken Spoke has had everything around it.
Well, weren't they
Taken.
talking about tearing that down?
Yes.
But people went nuts, and then the developer ended up deciding to keep it,
The
right?
developer actually went all around it on three sides. You ever seen that church in San Antonio that they built that mall around?
Yeah.
Same kind of deal. It's right around the Broken Spoke.
Yeah.
And Broken Spoke is, one story, looks like it's going to fall down at any moment, dirt, parking lot looking. And then you've got these beautiful condos all around it, which, I'm all for progress. I love the way the city of Austin has grown, but I don't like sometimes the direction it's grown. But I like, you go back 20 years even, or maybe even 15 years, there's only 3 tall buildings downtown. You could see those 3, and they had the neon on them.
Yep.
And now, if you come, especially coming from dripping across the Mopac Bridge, and you see this beautiful downtown, looks like New York City.
It does.
I love the way it looks, but then it comes with all its other sets of problems.
That's right.
And so
you used to be able, when you came across that overpass on Mopac.
Yeah. Exactly.
You would see the Capitol. You can't see the Capitol at all.
Oh yeah.
now.
If you
buried
look behind binoculars, it's buried under all these giant buildings, and there's like 3 or 4 more skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Being built this year.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine in another 5 years what it's gonna look like. But I like that our little city grew up and is now a world-class city.
Yeah.
But then that brings so much with it. It's like, so many people are moving here. You have to school them on the way we do things.
Oh,
Right.
Scotty, when you grew up around in this area, or went to high school and stuff, where did you hang out? What'd you do?
When I was in high school, I went to Hayes for a couple of years. I lived in Wimberley and spent some time in Drippin', and then I would go to South Austin. I mean, I was really more in high school. We'd drive to Austin for concerts and things like that. But I would hang out, go to the river, go to the Blanco River, go somewhere like that. And I wasn't really old enough to know I got to college. Then, of course, you go to 6th Street. It's the rite of passage, and now that is completely different. There's the old 6 or
you have to conceal carry when you go
Dirty
down to
6, they call it.
Yeah,
And then,
Dirty 6.
Yeah, now you got to go to 4th Street or Rainy Street or something like that. And it's all so different because I would, going to UT, it was kind of cool moving on up to the big city.
Yeah.
Because I came from, the wilderness out this direction for a while. And then I moved to South Texas, and then I came back to go to UT. And the town was still kind of a simple town. It was just not a lot to do as far as what we have now, but still great music. There's live music all over the place. You could tell how that's where music really got started. But now it's just, there's so much to do. It's almost, we're overexposed to a lot of that stuff.
Well, it's funny. You were just talking about the Broken Spoke, that when the Stones came to town and Mick Jagger, he didn't go to any of the new places. He went to the Broken Spoke. He went to all the old historical places.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the picture of him with a beer standing outside the Broken Spoke. It almost looks like something they took in the 60s or something.
Yeah, it does.
But
do you think that growing up in this kind of environment, like, the Austin music scene and kind of where you grew up here in the Hill Country, that kind of started your path on to broadcasting, or what had you what had you take this crazy road?
It's
not like it's a real job, let's be honest.
That's right.
When are you going to get a real job, Scotty?
That's right Pinky. I was always exposed to this kind of broadcasting. I wanted to be a DJ since I was 10 years old. My dad happened to be a DJ part-time when he was in college. He worked at WTAW at College Station at Texas A&M. And he also worked at a station called KOKE in Austin in the early 70s when he was in pharmacy school. And it was back at the original KOKE was AM, and that is what gave rise to Willie and Waylon and the Outlaw Country,
which is KOKE FM.
And then he became we moved back to South Texas, was a pharmacist for a while. Then he decided to be a doctor, moved to Fort Worth to go to medical school, and we came back to Wimberley then. But I always enjoyed music because my dad was huge into music. He had hundreds and hundreds of albums and 45s. And
did he like that crappy band Rush that you like too?
Hey, don't.
Are you a Rush fan?
I'm going to throw my headphones down and walk out of here.
He's a huge Rush fan.
Hey, you do not talk bad of Rush, young lady. I saw Rush a lot here in Austin at the Irwin Center. But yeah, my dad gave me the love of music. He gave me the love of broadcasting. He had a voice deeper than mine, and that put me on that road. And then when I got to college, I started as a business major, and I'm like, I don't enjoy this. And I switched to RTF, radio, TV, film, and then away I went. So,
radio, TV, film. That's a major that they offer.
Hey, Steve, you know that people actually get degrees for kind of like what you and I are mucking it up.
Yeah.
You and I are mucking it up.
Here's the deal: is I was going to the University of Texas in my senior year. I got hired at Dallas Niteclub, and I'm like, okay, I could work for Dallas and make a lot of money, or I could continue to stay at UT and get to finish my degree and pay them money. So I actually went to Dallas. So I'm still a senior at Texas.
There you go.
By the way. So no, you don't always get a degree for this.
Yeah.
But,
is it as glamorous as we all think it is, being a radio personality?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of the glamorous side with Scotty.
Well, but it's true though.
Hush.
I learned a little bit about it from you, Michelle, talking about the background of being there when you were working for Chick-fil-A. But it seems like everybody thinks you guys are.
Everybody thinks it's glamorous, but I mean, I have a studio. I do my show from a studio in Round Rock. Luckily, we had just put that in when COVID struck, so I didn't have to come into Westlake to our main studios. So I still do my show, which is Texas Nights, Monday through Friday, 5 to midnight or 7 to midnight. But
hang on a sec.
My favorite, one of my favorite memories, because I have so many memories of you with Scotty. It's like there's Shank Night at the rodeo.
Oh my goodness.
Shank Night?
We almost got killed, and that was a funny story.
Yeah, there's Shank Night at the rodeo. Yeah. There was
something happens when we're together.
There's Kane incident on 6th Street.
Oh yes, that's right. We almost started an international incident.
You need to tell it, and you need to tell it, because I have a feeling they're two different stories.
No, we're on the same side of all these, because it's us against the world. It's not us against each other. But the problem with her is if we go out with my wife and I and her and Todd, if we go out with them, it's always going to be something's going to happen. Either I get really stupid and get a room at the W and order room service
$200
on my birthday, and
then Kelly gets
and then we have to walk out of there like she's my hooker the next morning, and then or we get her other friends to Steve and Kathy to drive us around 6th Street, and then we actually call them to come pick us back up. We make them drive us like 100 yards and drop us off again, and
to cross the street,
and he gets pissed off and gets angry, and there's so many. The Shank story. What else we got?
Willie Nelson, welcome back to Coke.
The Willie Nelson tour bus incident.
Way to go.
See, they're mad at me about that one.
We call him sorry, Mom, cover yours. The cock blocker of Willie Nelson. Yeah. You know why?
Yeah, I want to hear what happened with Willie Nelson.
Why, Scotty? Why?
I don't know. Okay, so we're going on stage. It's the Willie Nelson concert at the backyard. Basically, we've been on the air for almost a year, or less than a year, actually. It's just September, I believe, after going on the air in July. And we're all going on stage. Bob Cole, Eric Raines, Jason Nasur, me, our news girl. That's a whole other story. And then some other things. And
Kelly and I are behind the scenes. We're like backstage.
They're backstage to help me get on the stage.
Yeah.
To help me walk up the steps, because I have an issue with getting up steps and things like that. So instead of helping me walk up the steps, Willie Nelson's tour bus is parked right up next to the steps for Willie to go on stage right after us. And the guy comes out of Willie's tour bus and says, "Hey, you're all here to get on the bus?" And Michelle, of course, goes, "Yes, we are." And me, as just it just came out of my mouth. I didn't even mean it to, but I was like, "No, they're going to help me right here." And they both looked at me like, "You
dagger eyes,
a-hole." I'm sorry. Okay, I'll crawl up the stairs and I'll get on stage. I'll go and hang out with Willie and smoke some weed.
That sounded perfectly okay with me. Yeah. I don't know why. But then Ray Benson came along and redeemed.
That was that was a whole other story. That was the Austin City Limits Live at the Moody Theater that the statute of limitations has not expired on that.
Who was the prime minister that we were sitting next to?
Okay, we can't
We can't name the prime minister.
I
don't think we can legally.
It was the Icelandic prime minister and the Mercedes team owner
the Ferrari guy. Yeah.
We can't ever
Mercedes F1.
It was his first year of F1.
Oh wow!
Willie Nelson, Ray Benson, Pat Green had a big concert at ACL
Full
Live.
bar, open bar,
which they were pouring shots or drinks that were all shot and maybe a little flavor. And my wife overindulged, and let's just say we can't go back there anymore. And
Todd and Kelly, they called us and they said, we're lost.
Yeah, they were both just, they couldn't find each, and they took a picture of the roof. And so all we see are tiles. And Michelle and I are like, we can't find them. And turns out they're right outside the door to the VIP section. And we get them to the chair, and all of a sudden,
Kelly starts losing her cookies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And the Icelandic ambassador was sitting right in front of her. And luckily, Todd had a giant napkin from the W. And these are all inside stories. Every single thing is an inside story. But that was one. And then the other was William Clark Green. We ended up at his band's
drinking moonshine
at somebody's apartment that claimed to be in his band that turned out to not to be. And we could have gotten killed. But
that was another adventure.
I thought that was the Shank story.
No, that was a different story. Different story.
Killed a different way. Not Shank.
It's just we always get into stuff. I'm going to say stuff instead of the S word, because that stuff is also an S word. But we always seem to get into it. I'm surprised we didn't get arrested in D.C., but we didn't, other than you putting Biden stickers all over the place.
I did. I was
not pro Biden stickers.
No, I put I did it stickers,
I did it,
and I was sticking them all over.
$12 hot dogs. I did that.
Even on our Uber, it was hilarious. Oh, and then they let me gamble in Maryland. That was the closest we could have gotten to be in trouble, because I think our Uber driver was drunker than we were.
Oh, jeez.
Scotty likes to go to Vegas. Scotty likes to gamble. He's very good at it, or he admits that, or says he's very good at it.
Was law enforcement ever involved in any of these?
Probably a couple.
Don't jinx us.
Actually, in the Kane incident.
In the Kane incident, maybe, and then when we were trying to get Kelly out of ACL Live at the Moody Theater, and we were trying to hide her from the cops that were walking by, and then Todd and I turned our backs on her, so that we were trying to block her, and she's like, "You turned your backs on me." I was like, "No, we're trying to block you from the cops."
I told the valet driver, I said, I went up to it, and I'm such a BSer. I was like, "Okay, so listen. So I got Willie Nelson's assistant really, really drunk, and she will be fired if we do not get her out of here." Mm-hmm. And so I slipped him a 20, and Scotty had a brand new paper. He had paper plates on his car, and they ran and got it, and they covered the whole front seat with plastic.
A Camaro convertible, black, and I had just got it that week, and I was like, she is not going to defile this Camaro. And so we got to listen to the concert on the way home on Sirius XM. But it's like every time I get a new car, y'all do something to it.
I can't help it. I'm so sorry.
Now she's doing all the cute voice.
I'm so sorry.
But yes, we should have a whole podcast just about our stories, because
I think we're doing that right now, Scotty.
Well, we're supposed to go to Nashville, and we got COVID.
Yeah. So I went.
Oh, that's right.
And so they went without us. Jerks.
Well, what I was going to talk about, one of the
Disney
things.
World with us too.
Oh yeah, Disney World. Went to Disney World.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of people don't understand, how your fame hungry personality started.
I need it.
Started very young.
Oh,
look at that!
Shoot.
Very, very young. And
are we still videoing this? Or?
We're not.
No, we're not.
And tell me a little bit about this. That's Matthew McConaughey. Steve, I just showed a picture of Matthew McConaughey.
I know who Matthew McConaughey.
And Scotty and Matthew have a little connection somehow.
1977 was the year. Bandera, Texas was the location. There's the Little Mr. Texas beauty pageant that the State Farm put on every year. And they would have the ladies would have like a beauty pageant, and they had the Little Mr. Texas, which was the cowboys, the little cowboys. And we were 7, 8 years old. And so my mom always said, like in the 90s when Matthew McConaughey started getting famous, that kid was in the contest with you. And she went and found, I have the program in pristine condition.
This is the actual program, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the program. It's still, I have it in the safe now, but it was Matthew McConaughey and I. He's from Uvalde. I'm from Pearsall, and we competed against each other. Now, the funny story about this is when he wrote his book, Green Lights, he actually had gone on the Tonight Show. I think Jay Leno was still the host when he did this, was talking about this contest he was in South Texas. His mom had told him all his life that he won this contest. And he got a little older, like early 20s, and he realized that
he read the trophy.
The trophy did not say he won. He was like runner-up.
It said runner-up.
Oh, look at that. It does.
So he talks about it a lot in his book, Green Lights, and his book had just come out. And I read the book immediately because I had heard him talking about it. Plus the Dak Shepard podcast, they were talking about the Little Mr. Texas. I'm like, okay, I'm in the damn contest. So we talked about it on the morning show on KOKE FM. At the time, I was on the morning show. We first started talking about it. Then I got my own show. So when Green Lights came out, I sent a query to his manager and said, your book's out. I'm on the air in Austin. Would Matthew like to go on the air? And they said yes almost immediately, which I was completely blown away.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Steve have a podcast in Dripping Springs.
Yes. So
Come on, Matthew.
So Matthew comes on my podcast, and I had done some research because of the morning show. We were talking about it. The guy that actually won,
I saw that, Larry,
was Lance Hunter.
Lance.
What kind of name for a male stripper is that? But no, he won. He lives in East Texas now, but his friends lived in Austin, were listening to my show and put me in contact with him. So we have the videos actually on YouTube.
I saw it.
And it's me and Matthew on Zoom, and we start talking about the Little Mr. Texas, and I said, hey, I was in the contest. And Matthew goes, did you win? And
Because he wants to know.
His whole demeanor changed. At first he was talking about his book, and it was all straight Mr. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I started talking about that, he went completely off script, and he's like, did you win? I said, no, but this guy, and I had this guy ready. He had never used Zoom before. He was in his auto body shop or whatever in East Texas, and he pops it on.
No way.
And I've got
funny?
Lance Hunter, Matthew, and I on the same podcast, and it's hilarious because Matthew had no clue for a while that he didn't win, and then for a second he thought I won, and then it was like, no, we got the guy that won. And if you go to YouTube and search Texas Nights Matthew McConaughey,
and they were talking about, I guess, Lance's suit that he wore because he wore this.
Matthew's
fancy-
mom always said that Lance shouldn't have won because he had this very beautiful, very expensive suit that he was wearing. And it turns out Lance told us that a friend of theirs made that suit for him.
Jeez.
But the whole conversation is hilarious because Matthew just completely forgets about the book, and we're talking about the Little Mr. Texas contest, which
you want to know who beat him when he was 9 years old.
because he'd been
actually,
he talked about it on the Tonight Show. He talked about it on Dak Shepard's podcast, and I've got the dude, and I finally blew his mind because I found the guy that actually won it, and the guy's name couldn't have been better, Lance Hunter from South Texas.
So the lesson is, if you come in second place in Little Mr. Texas, you become rich and famous.
Yes, you do. And
or Scotty Bennett.
But I thought my mom was losing it way long time ago because I was like, I wasn't in that one. It's not Matthew McConaughey. And she produced that program that's Matthew McConaughey and me.
So is that your retirement one day? You're going to sell that to Matthew?
No, I'm going to be like Uncle, what's his name, on
Fester?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Fester?
I'm just going to be talking
Uncle?
about that time that I was in that contest with Matthew McConaughey. I could have been famous. I could have been in the Lincoln Lawyer. I could have been all these things.
You'd have been good as a Lincoln lawyer.
Shoot. No.
What do you love about the radio business?
I like it because I don't know. I just like it because I get to meet
real job.
I get to meet bands.
Yeah.
I still get to support my family by doing what I enjoy. What is the saying? If you do something you enjoy, you never work a day in your life. Everything I do, I own an ad agency. I have a radio show. All of it works off each other because a lot of my clients are actually nightclubs and venues for live music. And then I interview the people on my show, and it all is synergy. It all works together. And I just like entertaining people. I've always tried to be the entertainment, even when sometimes it falls flat, but I like to entertain people. I like to make Michelle laugh, and
I think you do that quite a bit, Scotty.
I want to know, I want you to explain, because I do a horrible job of it. I want you to explain, because we have a lot of new people that have moved to the Dripping Springs area that don't really know the history or what, like, Texas red dirt. What is Texas country music compared to just like this new?
Well, it's morphed, and we touched on it a little while ago. The original KOKE FM, or was KOKE AM, it went on the air 50 years ago about this time. And that gave rise to Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, the outlaw country movement with the Armadillo World Headquarters and things like that. And then that made Austin the live music capital of the world. We coasted on that through the 80s, through part of the 90s. Nashville and Austin were competing for, Nashville was country music headquarters and Austin was live music capital. And then we kind of lost our identity for a while. Then in the 90s, you start having the Corey Morrows, the Pat Greens, the Kevin Fowlers,
the Lubbock Boys.
The Lubbock Boys, actually, most of them went to Texas Tech. They moved to Austin, and we start getting our identity back. And look at us now compared to early 90s, because, I was in the club business in the early 90s.
And it's found a home.
Yeah, I mean,
again.
I remember I used to pay Kevin Fowler $500 to play in the corner at Dallas on Thursdays, our off night.
No
I used
way.
to pay Aaron Watson $500 to play in the corner on Thursday nights, our off night.
You know what? You go anywhere and you see Kevin out here, so it's like,
Well, I mean, now you got to pay Kevin Fowler leave $500. But
I'm trying to get Kevin on the podcast.
Sounds like a lot of people got started in.
We
the
could call
Dallas
Kevin
nightclub.
afterwards. 'Cause he'll do anything. I love Kevin Fowler to death. He kind of started in the business at the same time I did, right about the early 90s. He was playing with Dangerous Toys, a rock band, and he switched to country. And he, beer, bait, and ammo was like, who is this hillbilly? But he used to be a rock and roll star in Austin, and nobody realized that. And then he started, we're talking about Aaron Watson, and then, the Corey Morrows, the Pat Greens. That led rise to the Josh Abbotts, the Randy Rogers, all these bands.
Cody Johnson.
And talk about Cody. Cody kicked off right about the time KOKE FM went on the air because it was funny. We had two Codys that were just coming out, and I can't even think of the other Cody's name right now, but
Reeves.
It's two Codys, and I was like, Cody John, this guy's got the talent, and he's going to be somebody. And he was kind of flying under the radar for a while, and we had him on 3 or 4 Coke Fests. And that last Coke Fest, he had to move from Saturday night to Friday night of Coke Fest because George Strait had invited him to play at Gillette Stadium.
Oh, geez.
And so he plays Coke Fest in Hutto on the banks of Brushy Creek with us and KOKE FM. He hops on a private plane, flies to Boston.
No way.
The next afternoon, he's posting pictures on the stage at Gillette Stadium. I'm like, this dude has made it. He had his rags to riches story in this weekend. And it was pretty
Hallelujah.
Well,
That's awesome.
Steve asked not too many podcasts ago if George Strait was still alive. So that's how much that I know.
I've got a connection to him,
this
too.
This is a wide table. You can't reach
Bless
across and just
his
slap
heart.
him.
cool. Well, George Strait is also from my original hometown, Pearsall.
Yeah.
And my dad was a town doctor there, and George would actually call the house and
Really?
because he had family members that would go see my dad. And we always had to screen dad's calls back in the day before cell phones and stuff like that.
Jeez.
But when George Strait calls and my sister answers and she just can't speak anymore. But yeah, George is kind of like the king of all music, all country music.
Yeah.
And then, some people don't even consider him Texas music because he's so Nashville, but without George Strait, without all that, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff we're doing here.
Doors for everybody else.
Who do you think is the most? All right.
You asked it.
We're back up.
You asked a question.
We were asking about, what was the question?
I don't remember.
It was about music, Kevin Fowler.
I was going to, I don't remember if this is where we were, but I was going to ask you who you think the most famous person you've met is besides Larry the Cable Guy.
Besides yourself.
Oh, you found the Larry Cable Guy
Yeah,
picture?
we did.
Oh, wow. That was at Dallas Niteclub after a Longhorn win. I can't remember how many. That was like a long time ago. This is early 90s. My most famous person I've talked to, in person is one thing.
Or interviewed.
I've talked to, of course, I've talked to vice presidents on the phone.
Really?
That are before they were president when we had them on the show. I talked to Donald Trump Jr. On the phone for an interview. Matthew McConaughey may be the most famous as far as that goes. And the weird thing is, I have never met personally George Strait, which is always kind of on my bucket list. Huh. And Eric Raines, another person from KOKE FM, and I were in Vegas, and they gave us tickets to the show, and we thought we were going to get to go backstage and finally meet him. And turned out we didn't, but we had to drink his crappy tequila. So that's a whole other story.
Maybe if Kelly and I were there.
But then I would cock block you. Sorry.
That's right.
There's a callback.
It's all callback all day.
No, but I don't know, because there's so many people, so many different walks of life, and there's been some missed opportunities. I was supposed to talk to George W. Bush on the air on the morning show one morning, and it just didn't happen. But that was one I was really looking forward to because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Bill Clinton's called in, and just random stuff like that.
How do you when you talk to somebody famous like that? How do you get nervous? Do you want to make sure you don't make a mistake?
The funny thing about the Matthew McConaughey interview is I was just one-on-one with he and I. Normally, you got Bob or Eric or whoever was on the morning show at the time also with you, and usually Bob runs those interviews, and you can jump in if you want to. But with Matthew, just he and I. But that same day, the guy that sang American Pie, Don McLean. I had interviewed him 30 minutes before that. It just so happened that I got both those guys the same day. So Don McLean was kind of like my warm-up for McConaughey.
Jeez.
And I was always a big fan of Don McLean because it's the iconic Bye Bye Miss American Pie song. And he was teasing that week that he was going to tell what the whole story was about. And he's never really said what some of the verses are completely about, which we know though, but we were trying to get him to talk about it. And so I interviewed him first. I put my headphones down and then get Matthew on. So I was already just kind of, if I hadn't done Don McLean first, which sounds dirty, I would have had problems, I think, with McConaughey. You know what I mean?
Because you were on a roll.
Which also sounds dirty, which also sounds really dirty.
All right.
Like, where's Steve? Steve's just Mom's going to call me right after this.
No.
Mommy called and said not to say that word.
Scotty, what look, I'm changing the subject. In radio now, so when you were a DJ, you got to pick your playlist or pick the songs, right?
Yes.
You were you spinning records?
When I first started, I was spinning records, and then we got our first CD player, which was really kind of cool. We just had to mount it. We bought a piece of plywood, mounted it on top of the turntable. Then we got 2 of them. We thought we were awesome. And then much later, they developed the CDs that were like turntables, so I can and the sound quality is much better. But when I started working in the clubs, the DJ booth you had a little bit of room in the middle and there's nothing but records around you. And then it became a little bit better because it was CDs on the wall and CDs in racks. And then by the time I stopped working there, everything was digital.
Yeah.
It was I had plenty of room for hookers and it was just a lot more room in there because everything's digital. We sat there and loaded each CD on the computer. So now we had everything backed up on MP3 and WAV file. And that's the way radio stations work now.
Well, I was going to ask, so do you pick the songs or is it a playlist that they put together and you just you get a list? What
Eric Raines is the music director at the station. So he will put the music together and basically we'll have a new format. We'll have a recurrent. We'll have, the song, the classics we got to play. And so he puts all those together. And then when I do my show, I will have a spotlight song, which I call New Music at 10. So I'll bring in a new song. I'll usually interview the person. And then I've got a segment I do called the 80s at 8, which are 3 80s songs, the 90s at 9, 3 90s songs. And so, I adapt my music to what I need to do, but Eric Raines being the music director picks most of the music, and he's award winning for all these.
Yeah.
The Red Dirt music, and he can pick a song, and we get all these awards because Eric Raines just picks great music.
So are gone are the days of new artists handing you guys CDs and stuff? Does it still happen?
Unfortunately, those are still happening. But it sucks because I feel bad for the artist because I've been on both sides of that. When you hand a CD to somebody, we got to keep it and we got to figure out what to do with it. And it's very rare we even get a chance to listen to it. Uh-huh. So the best way that they do now is they have record promoters that email us the music. And Eric and I get emails. I probably have 20 on my phone just since I've been sitting down of people sending us songs to play. And if it's somebody we know, somebody we've already played before, they are going to have a better chance of being listened to. And then I have promoter friends that know me and Eric and know that I'll do interviews for these new artists.
Yeah.
And so they'll call me and say, hey, got a new guy. He's really good. And I'll believe him. Then I'll play the song. I'll listen to it.
And then he sucks. And then you're like,
well, I was going to ask
process. There's a process.
But have you gotten one sort of out of the blue you weren't expecting and you listened to it, you went, oh my God, this is a star.
Yeah. There's been a lot of those and it's hard to kind of to remember specifically, but that happens a lot more than you think because sometimes they are novices about the process of how they should get us the music. And so they get it to us in a really clunky way and we accidentally listen to it and it turns out to be great. And then there's the people that we have a little code that they're well produced, but they suck, but they go through the right channels. They pay a promoter a lot of money. They get them to us and we're like, we can't play that.
I learned that when I was doing the Clear Channel stuff and doing the New Face Showcase.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Lee Bryce, if I remember correctly. He told me that when an artist goes in and they're signed with a record deal, they're already $1 million in debt to those.
Yes.
And they were exhausted. And a lot of, when I would do that New Face Showcase, these artists were exhausted, totally exhausted. Like, I met Taylor Swift for the first time. Right. She was 15, 16 years old for the first time. That poor girl just needed a nap.
Yeah. Well, that's what Nashville got a bad rap for, is because exactly that is the record labels would work them. They would make them record their songs. It would all be a formula. If the word Red Dirt or a trailer hitch was that popular that 6 weeks, all the songs that came out would have that word in it because the writers were told to write that for the record label. Geez. And that's why that's why Austin got popular again, is because they said, screw that. I'm going to go do my own thing. The record labels here and the studios here, the promoters here were a lot more relaxed about it, and they let people do what they want. And lately, I've been interviewing folks from Washington State and Oregon and all over the country that you wouldn't think would be hotbeds of Texas country music, red dirt music, but they're coming here because they hear us up there and they like this kind of music. So Nashville still has that bad reputation. They work people to death, and it's a formula. Here, you get to do what you want, and that's really kind of what made Austin kind of back. We're passing Nashville again as far as the music plays.
By formula, you mean not only does the music have to be good, they have to look a certain way. They have to have a certain personality.
Watch the TV show Nashville, how they groom these people to look a certain way. And
so one of my favorite stories is of Kelly Pickler, and we were trying to figure out if she had enough time for me to take her to Ross because she hadn't washed any clothes.
Right.
And I said, I'll take you somewhere. And it was off the studio off Congress.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so it's probably going to be about an hour by the time, I'm not going to have any time to go to Ross. And, all she wanted was clean clothes.
Just bought her some red high heels.
Yes.
Kelly Pickler joke. He's laughing. But yeah, they don't have time to do, and they're forced to jump in usually a passenger van with a trailer,
or Michelle's van to take it back to the.
I think about that a lot. Lance Armstrong, fall from grace, and the pressure that was on him to perform at that highest level, which is the same on these artists, right? It's not only them that they're looking out for, right? They're looking out for all this long line of people that have families and mortgages, and if they don't do their job, all those other people suffer, and that pressure gets to. I'm sure it gets to some of these. Well,
you see them crack all the time, but that's why they come back to Austin. They do their own thing, and they enjoy it more.
They connect back with what brought them to music.
Yeah, and I think the best thing to happen to musicians in one way. I mean, yes, they lost a ton of money, but COVID was like a reset button. Everybody had to work from home. Were you able to do studios remotely? A lot of these bands were recording albums by laying a track down and emailing it, and from their home studio, and albums were made that way.
Wow.
Plus, they got to spend time with their family, and normally they would have been on the road 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So they get time with their family, they can record from home, and they get a reset. And so once it's over, everything starts going back up again. Does that mean our time is up?
No, that does not mean our time is up.
I was going to say that I think that new album that Miranda Lambert did with, I think it's Jack Ingram and
John.
Oh my gosh, but it's probably one of the best albums that she's ever done. They were just.
You watched the documentary?
Yes.
Yeah,
out in the middle of nowhere, and just what Marfa. That's it.
The Marfa tapes. John Randall.
John.
Yeah, that was a great, and it was simple. It was nothing but toned down guitars and them singing out in wildlife with a couple of microphones, and it was a throwback to the old days. And it's like a middle finger to Nashville. Like, we don't need all your studio, your effects and all this stuff that y'all provide. We can do this on our own out in Marfa, and then all these other artists are following suit. You have if you follow the Texas Red Dirt movement. Go somewhere like Coke Fest, or go somewhere like Mile Zero Fest, or Steamboat, the Music Fest, or Cabo Fest. Now, the lineup of bands they have they're all
Cabo
similar.
Fest? What is Cabo Fest?
Yeah, they did it a couple weeks ago. Krager and Fowler and
of
Wade
course
Bowen.
Fowler's there. Wait,
if you have a beer somewhere, Fowler's like a magnet. Like,
shocking. Kevin was there.
Did you know he likes beer?
I didn't know that. We have a name for him, but I can't say it. It's Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah,
I can say it. I'm the guest, right?
No, Steve and I were talking, and it is pretty interesting the way satellite radio is just really kind of taken off, and it's being out here in Dripping Springs. It's even hard to get KOKE FM.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Even though we have a tower out here.
Yeah, it's hard to get KOKE out here in Drip. And
well,
you're not asking for the right people.
No.
Yeah, piggybacking on that though, there seems to be a lot more competition for radio than there used to be.
But there's more people out there. So we've found that personality-based radio still works. The problem with a lot of radio stations is they're taking away the personality. And I don't mention any names because I got a lot of friends over there, but
BP.
They take away the personality. They program the music from Pittsburgh. They don't. There's not an Austin theme to it. Even the morning show is from somewhere far, far away on some of those stations. So personality-based radio stations, we have personalities from 5:30 a.m. to midnight. And it's always it's local. We're talking about what's going on. We know the artist.
You have an Earl in the office.
Earl doesn't work there anymore.
I know. But you did. That's the
right.
early beginning. You'd have an Earl that's doing the traffic.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have a definite connection with our listeners in Austin, and nobody else. I mean, there's very few radio stations in the world that still do that. So yes, you're right. Sirius XM gets a lot of listeners. Yes, streaming, Spotify. Pandora, they get a lot of listeners. Yes, online, but there's so many people in the world now that there's enough to go around.
The pie is getting bigger.
And they told us, these other stations told us when we first went on the air in 2012 that we were going to make it 6 months.
Yeah.
And here, our 10-year anniversary is this week.
So tell me where you guys rank now. Like, where are you guys in relation to Austin radio and all the different genres?
It depends. It depends. Everything goes up and down. But like my show, I was number one in Williamson County for a while because we have a lot of listeners in Williamson County.
Because 2 people voted for you?
That's right. You and some other chick. But yeah, it's everything. I mean, of course, Case 101 KBET are the big dogs here because they have the big signals. Our signal is much smaller. They're 100,000. We're 25,000 watts. One of our towers is in Copeland, near Elgin, and one's in Dripping Springs, but it's shooting towards Austin. So y'all have trouble hearing it here, but it's 98.5 out here, and we have 99.3.
So they actually have 2.
2 towers. So we're keeping up with everybody. As far as sales revenue, we're beating some of them. And the thing about KOKE FM, and to toot our own horn, is a lot of our clients and a lot of our listeners think we're family, and that we are. They're like our partners. They're not. If a client goes on the air with us, our listeners know we trust them. We don't just take anybody's money, and we've got that good reputation. You know, Bob Cole, he's done this forever with KBET and wherever else. So when he endorses somebody, they take it to heart, and we've got that mentality. Our listeners want to work with our clients. Our clients want to work with our listeners, and we've got the best relationship anybody's ever seen as far as that goes. And nobody can name another station like this in the world that is. We're locally owned and operated. We're based here in Austin. We're not going to be bought out by some other big conglomerate.
And deep roots in the Austin
Deep roots, all of us have. I mean, I was born in Austin. Eric Raines was born in Belton. Bob Cole got here as quick as he could. He's been on the air forever here in Austin.
Tell me about your groupies.
Which ones?
Yeah.
I have 3 sets. No, I mean,
3
the Dallas Niteclub groupies, I've got.
You said something that, people that like your family. And I think I've been at a lot of remotes with you, and people come up to you because you've been on the air, because they listen to you every morning, or when they listen to you every morning, or they listen to you on Friday nights, and they feel like they know you.
Even though you've never met them.
Right. And it's disconcerting sometimes because I have never met some of these people, and they come up to us. And it's also cool in a way, but it's also kind of funny because not a lot of people know what I look like. But if I walk into a place, usually if I get recognized, it's because of Dallas Niteclub, because I was there 25 years and that place was so popular. But if they hear my voice,
I was just going to say, a lot of times probably when you go, I need a table for 6.
Well, then they know.
Hey, are you Scotty Bennett?
Remember when we went to Steiner Ranch last?
Oh, yeah.
We had our waiter.
God.
He's like, you look familiar. And I was like, well, I probably do. And,
yes.
and
we're kind of a big deal.
Yeah. He said, oh, yeah, well, I'm a, world-known podcaster. Oh, yeah. And then we were like, all these people are famous. And he goes, I thought that you guys were.
Yeah. That waiter swore we were somebody. I'm like,
we are.
I can't put my finger on it, though.
I know you.
We are somebody.
But it's like, they hear my voice, and I've been around doing this now since 91 between Dallas Niteclub and the radio. And I've been on with KOKE since the very beginning. So that's 10 years. And I never thought that any of these would last that long, but people get to know you. Even out here and where Michelle lives, it's like people know my name at least.
Do you have I know you have a radio personality. Do you turn it off and on, or is it on all the time?
Let me answer this.
I'm gonna defer to Michelle.
The answer is no. Well, so what?
This is just you.
This is Scotty.
Do you find that in other
it's exhausting.
radio personalities? But do other radio personalities, like Bob Cole, for example, is he just like on the radio, just like he is out in
pretty
the office?
Pretty much, especially because a lot of times when you see him in public and he meets you, he turns it on, and he's a charmer. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is gone are the days of the fake DJ. if you ever watched Private Parts, Howard Stern, you know how he was one guy on the air and one guy off. Once he started becoming himself on the air, he got hugely popular. This is me. I mean, if you add a little Tito's, it's me even more. But
amplified.
Just ask her.
Personality comes out.
You know, that's my personality, and love it or hate it. But it's just a lot of times though, when I'm not on the air, I prefer to be, you know, I'm quiet and, you know, I don't like big crowds unless I'm paid to be there, honestly. But it's just.
No, that's me too.
Well,
unless they pay me, I don't want to.
No, I mean, not so much get paid, but if it's a crowd that is there for the station or something, I love it. But I don't go looking for crowds, you know, especially with me because I'm partially handicapped. So I don't go looking for crowds.
Talk about that. Talk about, I guess, your limitations and when people have seen you, you know, like when you were playing in One Ton, you know, you're
we played the other night.
He's a drummer also.
Yeah.
And so you do have difficulty kind of getting up and down the stage, and when you're emceeing at certain things, and that's kind of, you know, I've always joked around, that's why I'm friends with you, because you get front row parking at all this really cool stuff.
You get to pre-board the airplane.
Yeah, you get to pre-board the airplane, but it's a pain in the ass.
With my hookers. But that's another story. But yeah, I have a form of muscular dystrophy called Charcot-Marie tooth, and I've had it since I was 5 years old. But I didn't really realize I had it till I was 13. And
did your father have it?
My dad had it. My sister has it. My uncle had it. I mean, it's very hereditary.
And your two daughters.
I've got two daughters that have it.
Oh, wow.
And so the older you get, the worse it is on your body. And so I worked at Dallas, and I was standing up every night, and I had to wear ankle braces, but that's it. And most people had no clue that there's anything going on. And later on, if I had to leave the DJ booth and like walk around or something, they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? You drunk? No. Well, yes, but I'm also handicapped.
Yeah.
So then it's gotten worse recently, and I have to wear longer leg braces. We'll use a cane or Michelle, and whichever is closer.
Michelle or Kelly.
That's right. Yeah, Kelly will push me right over to Michelle if possible. Like, you go ahead and you take them for now.
Kelly is an absolute saint, his wife. Yeah. She's an absolute saint. She does.
Does a ton for me. And her sense of humor, it makes it so that we can't communicate about it. I mean,
so is this disease going to get worse?
Right now, yes.
Well, so you're going through sort of a ramped up phase.
The longer I live, the worse it's going to get. And
I'm surprised you've actually lived this long living with Kelly, because
she's tried to murder me several times, but yeah. But
is it affecting your drumming?
Yes, and also, I mean, you know, I have other ailments. Like I have a torn bicep right now that I've been nursing for 3 weeks, and I played a show with it at the Williamson County Rodeo with that, and was not smart. I was popping pain pills for that one, but anyway.
But it just affects your extremities, right? Is that
my fingers all the way up my arms, and then my toes. The furthest from my spinal cord is technically it's the nerve impulses don't make it to the muscles, so the muscles die, they atrophy. So yes, it's going to get worse the older I get, but I keep being told that they're within 2 to 5 years of a partial cure, which hopefully will help my daughters.
And it'll stop
the progress, and then the next step will be to reverse the progress. And they have done that with some of these things called CRISPR. I don't know if you've heard of this technology, where they go in and they gene splice and they fix it. And the trick is now is a lot of ramifications with, you know, morality, things like that, the way they test it and things. So we have to wait for things like that. But there is a lot of hope as long as we can keep it on the same path to get this fixed. So
and it's hereditary. So at one point you explained it to me in very simple terms, and who can pass it down in the family? Well,
it's mostly male passing it down to their kids, have a 50-50 chance of each kid getting it. So I have 3 kids, 2 of them got it. My sister has it. She has 3 kids. 0 of them have got it. Wow. So it's the luck of the draw. It's if you take all the averages, it's 50-50 chance. Now that's something that they will be able to do real soon. This is another one of the things is they can tell in utero, or they can actually fix with this CRISPR technology. They'll be able to fix they know exactly which gene is defected. They have a name for it, and it causes a couple different things, and they can fix it now. But it's just the morality of it and things that they're trying to get, you know, medically approved, things like that, of how to get it done. So they're that close. But yeah, it's going to be, you know, for a male to have it, chances are their kids are going to have it 50-50.
Do any of your kids have symptoms yet?
both my daughters. My oldest is 25, and everybody's affected differently. She uses a walker now because her legs have gotten to that point, and she should be wearing knee braces too, but she's not. My Brooke, who is 20 now, she has it, but she stands on her feet all day. She works her butt off, and you could tell she's got something, but she doesn't seem to be bothered a lot by it. It hurts her back a little bit by walking, but so I mean, hopefully it'll fix it for them or their kids, definitely. But it'd be nice to get them fixed and get their symptoms turned off sooner than later, so they don't. Because even if they cured me today, I've had surgery and so many times, and it's not going to fix me, but it can stop the progress.
And your drumming is more. I remember you telling me it's more like your physical therapy. It's
because I played drums since I was about 12, and my sister has the same disease, and she did not know. I work out as well, and that kept up with it for a long time. And it's only been the last couple of years. You've seen it. The last couple of years, it's gotten a lot worse. But I kept up with it really well, and then all of a sudden, finally, nature just took over. But it's the way it happens, and I still work out when I can. I still play the drums, because if I didn't, I'd be in a lot worse shape. But
it's never been a crutch to you as well. Like I've never heard you kind of use it as an excuse to not do something.
Kelly thinks it's like, okay, honey, can you give me some tea?
That's because you're lazy.
Sensuous.
That's because you're lazy. That's not because of
not because I'm lazy, not because I'm handicapped.
Yeah, you're lazy, not handicapped, and that's it.
There's a great lesson in that, because we all know people that have some little small ailment, and they say, well, I can't go for a walk because my big toe hurts, or it's like
suck it up, Buttercup.
That's right. You do what you can do. If you can't walk 2 miles, you walk a mile. If you can't walk a mile, you walk a half a mile.
Right.
But you do what you can do.
Do what you can.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't want to stay. I've always wanted to stay busy. I always want to do stuff. And when I stop doing that stuff, then I'm really screwed. But
and you've been actively involved in the Jerry's Kids, MDA.
Yep. And then CMT has their own. We have our own. Which Sharkamori Tooth is now CMT, they call it, but we have our own charity. And like the ALS, remember when they did the Ice Bucket Challenge? ALS is similar to my disease, because it's under the umbrella of muscular dystrophy. So when they raised all that money during the Ice Bucket Challenge, that research they're doing actually helped all of us. So any of those Duchenne's, any of those you give money to, the research they're doing are figuring out, because once they cure Duchenne's, once they cure ALS,
or MS,
once they cure MS, well, MS is a little bit different, but once they cure these dystrophy type diseases, they'll cure them all. And so it's pretty cool how they're doing all that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And so one day, I mean, we won't need to, Jerry's Kids, and we need the telethon. We'll just all be equal with you people.
Yeah, you people.
Well, we went. This is probably our longest podcast ever, and I only went over about half the stuff I was going to ask you.
We haven't even covered all the the bad stuff.
The statute of limitations, like you said, hasn't worn out.
We need a whole other podcast for Michelle and I.
We'll have to have you back, Scotty, and we'll do another one telling stories.
We need Todd and Kelly to make sure we stay on track.
That's right. Yeah. And just because you probably recognize his voice, just to let you know, he does our.
The ad for
it's Mallett and Michelle.
Yeah, that's right.
From Dripping Springs.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to ask you to do some
on the main stage.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, thanks for coming in, Scotty. It was really a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, and sorry I broke your stuff.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com.
Thanks for listening.
If you have comments or feedback, please email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Mallett and Michelle.
Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Please follow us and leave a review.
Thanks again for listening.